Hi everyone, thank you for watching Compass Guide videos. Please do subscribe and share among your peers and friends. It would definitely help them. Today, I'm really honored to have somebody as the guest today who is someone who I am not just influenced by but inspired by. He's a person who has been the recipient of the Report on Business for Best Executive Award, which recognizes 50 leaders annually who represent the best of Canadian leadership, in addition to being named a hero's role model for his work in diversity and inclusion. In 2010, he was recognized as Canada's top 40 under 40 by Cadwell Partners International, the country's most coveted award for young business leaders. As I mentioned, that he's somebody whom I get inspired by. He's also my mentor. And it's my pleasure to introduce to all of you Mr. Larry Tomei, Executive Vice President and Head of Wealth and Personal Banking, HSBC Bank Canada. Thank you, Larry, and welcome.
Yeah, Sandeep, thank you very, very much for having me. And I think you know the old saying, top 40 under 40, but then you're bottom 40 over 40. So I'm sensitive to that. But thank you for the very nice introduction.
No, you're welcome, Larry. And as I said that, I was really tensed preparing for this today. I generally don't prepare too much, but I did because I was going through all the questions that I had in my mind. That there'll be so much that the viewers can really get out of this from this conversation. And the very first thing that came to my mind is, in this country, and we generally talk about it, Larry, that how Canada has been a country for new immigrants, how people come in. But I think one very important point in that is people come in here for their kids, for their second generation. They want them to become successful. And I thought, who better to put in front of them than you, as a second generation, a kid of an immigrant family, and I'm sure your story would inspire and influence so many others who are planning to come in or are already here and they see their second generation being successful. So I thought that why don't you share a little bit about your childhood, the journey that your parents took, and as a second generation Canadian, your journey.
Well, Sandeep, quite frankly, I'm humbled by you asking me to do this. And I've heard your story, and I've heard Raz's, and I've heard Aditya's on this telecast. Or a podcast, and here's what I would say: that my story is very, very similar to every new immigrant story. Of my family left Italy approximately 60 years ago with nothing. They came with family, they came with friends, and they started a new life because they wanted a better life for their family. And, my dad was a successful barber for a very, very long time with his best friend. He started his barbershop with his best friend when he landed from Italy. My mom dedicated herself to the family and took care of us for her entire life and still does. And so for me, it's the traditional new immigrant story: hard work and smart work and the importance of education. And so, for me, I did my BBA, I did my MBA. Along the way, I won lots of scholarships because, you've heard the story, and that I just couldn't bear to think that my dad always said, as long as you go to school and do well, I'll pay for your school. But I just couldn't bear the thought of how many $12 haircuts my dad would have to do to pay for my school. And so I dedicated myself to being an excellent student and to win scholarships, so my dad didn't have to work hard for me. He worked hard for himself and our family, but he didn't have to work harder to put me through school. My brother was an amazing mentor for me. He's a teacher. And so, traditional story. Then coming out of school, I went to work for a domestic bank, and I loved it there. 22 years, an amazing, amazing time. So many friends, so many mentors. I learned so much, and I loved it. And to this day, I still love my time that I spent there. And I was very, very fortunate to have great followership, and great mentors who taught me along the way, all along the way. Really, really fortunate. And I couldn't have done it without them. And approximately 5 years ago, I came over to HSBC, and I would say the same thing, that amazing colleagues, amazing mentors, and I've loved every moment of the journey. And along the way, I think the most important piece is giving back to the community and giving back to others, because you got to realize that so many people gave to you, and you need to pay it forward, and you need to give back. And so, as you know, my big belief is we're here to serve, and that's our role. And, you know, I always talk about our 5 key stakeholders: our clients, our colleagues, our shareholder, our regulator, our community. And in there, you know, with, you know, your colleagues, your family, your friends. And so, you know, that's my belief. And I think if you spoke to most new immigrants, they would have that same story. And I, as you know, we work for Canada's largest international bank. I would argue the best international bank in Canada. And, you know, I'm proud that along the, 27-year journey, I've met amazing people. I like to think I've changed some lives for the better. And I've had so many great people who've helped me, and now my job is to help others. And so, amazing new immigrant story. I'm so proud of my parents and my brother and my family who helped me along the way. And now we got to pay it forward to others.
No, and I think few points that you just touched, Larry, and I think it's very important for the new immigrants who are aspiring or who are already here, right? The value system that you just spoke about, education, the value system of scholarships, right? That you pay for your own piece. You can, in this country, it opens up, it helps you to do that, right? And I think the most important piece, which is very different or not looked into from that perspective, importance of mentors and importance of giving back, because I think those are the Canadian values, and that which you have already imbibed, and you're giving that back every day. And I think that's the learning piece for everyone who is going to watch this video, that those are the values that you instill, and that's where the Canadian value system brings more immigrants, and they are part of the Canadian piece.
Absolutely. Sandeep, you can't, well, your son's very, very successful, and you're experiencing that with him right now. But I remind people, you can't do it without your friends and family. You can't do it without your mentors and your champions, and you certainly can't do it without your colleagues at work. When I think of every great success, they've been team. I know you named individual successes at the start. Those aren't individual successes for me. Every single win has been a team win, and as you know, when we win as a team. You don't win as individuals. And so for me, those 3 groups are so important to remember, to serve, and to never forget. You're never alone along this journey. It's so, so very important.
No,
and of course, never forget where you come from. Yeah. Never forget where you come from.
And I think that's another very important piece, right? Very, very important not to forget your roots. Coming to my second point, and this is more moving on to the corporate side. You have, and as you said, 27 years career, 27 years journey. You have really, you're a successful corporate leader. And as you say, that it's all about teamwork, it's about so many other things. But in a Canadian landscape, what would be 3 tips that you would like to give to people who are looking at building their careers in this country? What would be the 3 things that comes to your mind?
Yeah, it's a great question, Sandeep. I would say, first off, I think you want to find an industry and a segment of that industry you love, because I've spoken to so many people in my career, and they always, in fact, today I called somebody at HSBC and congratulated her for her 45th anniversary at HSBC. And you know what she said? I started, and I didn't think I'd be here long. I can't tell you how many people I talked to who said, I'm sure, Sandeep, if I asked you, you said, well, I thought I was going to be there 6 months, and it's been a long time. Everybody says that. So I would say, if that's your journey, pick wisely right off the start. Pick a place where you say, I'm going to love that. And for me, I just knew I loved people, and I loved the idea of banking, because in banking, truly, in my heart of hearts, I believe it's one of the industries where you really can change people's lives. And for me, that's important, really having a difference, meeting somebody that you helped 10 years ago, and they say, you know what, you changed my life. Whether we got them into their first home or their second home or third home, whether we were able to raise money for the RESP or the RSP, whether we were able to get them to raise money for that dream family vacation. We make people's dreams come true as bankers, and we change people's lives. And I think we're in that industry that probably does that more than, the vast majority of industries. And so I think you got to pick wisely and pick something you love, because you're going to be doing it for a long time and you want to love it. Two is, I think, especially early on in your career, and I know you're talking about, new immigrants coming here and starting a career. I think you really want to focus on learning versus earning. Earning is important. We have our bills to pay, but learning is so important in the journey. And you know what, today, 27 years into it, I still talk about what's the learning. After we've done something that wasn't as successful as we thought it was, we always go back to, we always go back to, what can we learn from this? I still read a lot. I still talk to a lot of people to get insight. So I think learning versus earning is really, really important, because you want to master your craft. I really, really believe that. And I talked about mentors and colleagues, and even family and friends. I think the folks that are talking to friends and family about how to get better are engaging with their mentors and their champions on how to get better, and engaging with their colleagues on how to get better, because some of your greatest ideas come from the front line or from your colleagues. I think that's so, so, so important. I wouldn't be where I was without those three. I really, really believe that. I wouldn't be where I was without my family and friends. I wouldn't be where I am without my mentors and champions along the way. And of course, my colleagues, I owe it all to them. And then, three for me is be a great colleague. It's so important. Be a great friend, be a great family member. I think that's important, and give back. It's so important that as you develop others. I really, really believe that, because your legacy, nobody's going to remember the PBT 20 years from now. But I guarantee you, if you mentored others, they'll remember your lessons. They'll remember, how kind you were to them, how you made them feel. So I think that is your greatest legacy. Friends, family, colleagues, mentors, that the give back is so very important. So those would be my top three, Sandeep.
And I think from all perspective, because when you look at it from the lens, and I'm sure you have seen so many newcomers coming in and working in your teams, in your under your leadership, and that's so valuable for them to know that that learning versus earning piece is so critical and so central to, especially when you're coming to a new society, a new culture, and trying to get that. You might be coming from the same background, but the culture makes it very different.
Yeah.
That brings to the last question that I have for you, Larry, for today, and that's with the last 1.5 years with COVID and all this stuff going on, there's some rapid changes going on around everybody, whether they're their workspace, whether their mind space, whether they're how they used to interact, their vacations, like everything is going through a change. And what comes to my mind is that to ask you as a senior leader of this country, that how do you see that? Like what would be the 3 tips? Because when a newcomer or somebody who's starting their career in a new country, they've already gone through such a huge change, right? And then because of everything going on around us, what would be those top 3 tips? And not only just newcomers, even if somebody is somebody like me who's here in this country for the last 13 years, what would be your three tips on managing change? Because that's a big piece now from everybody's perspective.
Yeah, it sure is. Well, I think first off, I think you have to accept it, and not only accept it, but embrace it, and be a change master. I really, really believe that that change is coming, whether you accept it or not. Change is coming, and so my view is: would you rather be part of the change, or would you rather be the wall that's standing in front of that change? And I truly believe walls eventually get taken down. So, my belief is, first off, accept it, embrace it, and be the change master. Try to influence it. That is for sure the number one piece, that you have to see that change coming. Two is you build your strategy. You need to know what you are and what you're not. And I think that is critical in all this. You got to have your strategy, because that's your guideposts. Those are the posts as you try to navigate change. You know how to make decisions with those posts. You know where to guide your team through those posts, guide yourself through those posts. So the strategy is really important. And then the third piece is execute with excellence and measure it, really, really well, to make sure that, when you look at those outcomes, are they falling within that strategy? Accept it, embrace it, be the change master, number one. Because people want to follow people with vision. They want to follow people who will take them where the company, the business needs to go. First off, that followership and that belief, people will follow you if you believe it, if they see it. And quite frankly, I think if you believe it, you achieve it. So that's the first piece. Secondly, as I said, set that strategy and be really, really tough. You can't be everything to everybody. So you gotta have those choices. What is that strategy? What are you going to do? And what are you going to not do? And be really, really clear on that. And then three is execute with excellence. It's not just execute with excellence, and measure it and make sure that those outcomes are achieving that strategy. And then it's repeat it and repeat it and repeat it, because I think as you execute it, 2 years from now, you're going to have to tweak that strategy. More change will come. You want to be in front of it. You're going to have to tweak that strategy. Now, I say tweak it, right? Hopefully not major material changes, but tweak that strategy and then execute. And, as I said before, I've been very, very fortunate to work with people like you, Sandeep, and the entire team. I honestly, I'm blessed to have such amazing people around me throughout my entire career, both here and at other organizations. And I think we've been able to do that. And I think that's a big part of it, quite frankly. I think that's the big part of leadership. You have to have the vision and be, very focused on the change and understand the change and embrace it. People want to follow people with, vision. And then, identify that strategy, and then most importantly, execute it and tweak it as you go, as you measure the outcomes and make sure you need to get to where you want to go. And quite frankly, you can apply that to life. As you know, life never kind of goes as expected. There's lots of changes along the way. And my belief is life is no different than work. You're going to have change. You're going to have challenges. You're going to have good days. You're going to have not so good days. And I think, you need to navigate your family and friends just like you navigate your colleagues at work. And I think those folks who are most content realize change is going to happen. It's an essential part of life. In fact, that's what life is. If there wasn't change, you'd probably lead a pretty boring life. Life is about change. But, I've spent many, many years in the wealth business. And I would say your career, your life is like a stock market. Lots of ups and downs, but the long-term trajectory is always up. And that's a good thing. And that's what life's all about. And along the way, you have your friends, your family, your mentors, your champions, and your colleagues who you enjoyed with. And, for me, never forget where you come from. And most importantly, give back.
No, that's such a powerful message, Larry. Executing with excellence and most importantly, measuring it, and then doing it with everybody that you can and carry on.
And
Thank you
Sandeep,
so very much.
you do that so well for us. You know that you do that so well for us.
No, no, thank you so very much, Larry, for your time again. And
Thanks for
I'm
having
sure,
me. Thanks for having me, Sandeep.
thank you so very much, and thanks for everything that you do, and thanks for taking out time. Thank you so very
Sandeep,
much.
appreciate your leadership. Thanks for doing this for our community. Thank you.
Thank you.